Hello and welcome to our next episode of She Runs Strong, powered by Coach Perry. As always, I've got Nicky with me here. Welcome, Nicky. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Yep, I've had a good week of training and all is going well. We've dropped our kids off at university, so we're now relaxed and got the place to ourselves.
Oh,
How are you?
excellent.
How's your week
I
been?
mean, yeah, we know I don't have children, so generally, my world is kind of relaxed, and I don't have to worry about stuff like that. But yes, week of training went well. Really finding some consistency again, which I'm so happy about because I've just struggled
Excellent.
with that so much this year between different injuries and illnesses and so on. So yeah, loving just ticking, turning all those boxes green again. So yeah, really loving it.
Super.
Yeah, today's
Good stuff.
today's episode is a great one. We've invited one of our members, one of Nikki's athletes that she works with one on one, to come and give a really nice individual view into how to train as a 40 plus female runner and how to run strong, right? As the name of this podcast suggests. So we're very lucky and very grateful to have Monique with us today. Let me add her in here. There we go. Welcome, Monique. Really nice to have you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome. Welcome.
Hi, good to see you guys. First time I'm doing this as well, so trying to get the camera straight and everything.
Excellent. Well, yeah, welcome, Monique. So, yeah, thanks again for doing this. But maybe just to start us off, tell us a little bit about you and how long you've been running and a bit of your running history.
Pretty much been running since 2012. Got straight into it and did my first comrades at 2013 and did a number of injuries along the way, stress fractures, you name it. And then sort of during COVID time, went down with a whole lot more stress fractures, two in 2 years. And my orthopedic surgeon kind of said to me, well, if you want to run, best you get yourself a coach and learn how to run properly on all levels, nutrition, training, and the works. So that's when I reached out to Coach Perry and teamed up with Nicky, and yeah, I managed to get through my 8th comrades with her this year and hoping to do 2 more before I can retire that crazy race.
Yeah, it's to get that green number, that's for sure. Yeah, so Nikki taking on Monique. Yeah, what is? Well, either of you can answer this, I guess. What's the next big goal, or yeah, what are you guys training for? Is it comrades as you mentioned?
Yeah, comrades number 8. Number 9.
Number 9. Okay,
Number
so we're
9.
two away from that green number. So that's good going. Yeah, Nikki, maybe
Yeah.
take us through your initial working with
Yeah.
Monique and how that came about and yeah, where you guys have sort of got to.
I think it, Monique is a really interesting case and just one of those dream clients, runners to have, to coach. You are definitely a dream to coach. Just out of interest, how many fractures have you actually had?
3.
3, yeah.
Mm.
So when you came to me, you'd just come off the back of a fracture, correct?
Yes, yeah.
And we'd had an initial meeting. And what I did was I went back through your Strava and had a wee look through your history, which was quite interesting. And you'd always been, as you said, you'd done a lot of running and you've always been very disciplined with your running and you've done a lot of running. And I looked back through your running and I was really interested to just see how much training you did. And I don't know if you remember the very first time pretty much that I met you, or that maybe the second time after I'd got to your initial sort of coaching consult, and the first time I went back through your Strava with you. Do you remember that call at all? I had looked back through your Strava and I asked you specifically what you had eaten that week. Do you
Yeah,
remember that at
I
all?
remember, and you remind me about what I'm eating every time we chat.
But I remember there was a lot of training in your Strava, and from running to swimming as well, because you're quite a keen swimmer too, aren't you? So, and you do a challenge, is it every February as well?
Yeah, yeah, I do the 8th mile.
Anyway, so I had asked you about your eating, and you had gone through what you eat in a day during your training, which wasn't very much. I don't think it was any breakfast. I'm not sure you really ate much lunch either, but you always had a reasonable tea or dinner,
Yeah.
correct? So for the first couple of weeks with you, because we weren't really running at that particular stage, were we? So it was back to walking. I actually focused much more on nutrition. I'm not sure how aware you were of the direction I was kind of talking, but I was much more wanting you to fuel your running and walking workouts and stuff. So that was a big thing for me, and it's obviously impacted you a lot because I still talk about it quite a bit with you. And how did you feel in those first days when I started to talk about fueling your running and
Yeah.
and mention that a little bit?
I think, I think I haven't didn't ever really think about fueling and the importance, because I'd always felt strong and fit and not lethargic and sort of ready to go, even though I hadn't had breakfast. And I'd kind of got myself into a pattern of not eating during the day from when I was 16 years old. So food and nutrition and fueling was never a big thing in my life. And I thought, oh, well, I'll just carry on the way I've always been. So when you had sort of, I'd like to say forced, but it wasn't like forced, but you had pointed it out, and I was desperate to try anything to be able to sort out the stress fractures and get back at running and get back at the training that I had been. So I was willing to give anything a go. And I sort of gave you as my coach as benefit of the doubt and was like, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try and eat before I run. I'm going to try and fuel after I've run, and I'm going to see where it goes. And if I start putting on a huge amount of weight, I'm going to stop. And interestingly enough, I didn't put on the weight. And it's been over a year now, and I haven't had any major injuries or any sort of hints of stress fractures coming along. So it's obviously made a huge difference and is working for me, and interesting on all levels.
Yeah, and I mean, Monique, it's so nice to, if I can jump in here, it's so nice to hear it from the horse's mouth, from the athlete's mouth, because we are so often trying to tell people about how important fueling is, and you've just hit the nail on the head with all of those things. You're running better than you ever have. You haven't been injured. There's no idea, or hints of stress fractures coming up again, and we know for a fact that under fueling or finding yourself in a low energy availability is where we start seeing different things hitting the different physiological systems, and bone stress injuries being one of them. So I think as an initial point of view, that's or initial point where Nicky took you, I think that is a great place to start, just to ensure, Nicky, that you were making sure that you was fueling correctly before even looking at any of the training aspects, right?
Yes. Well, that was it. And how did you feel when you started to add in breakfast after not eating breakfast, before? Because you get up quite early to run in the mornings.
Yeah.
And adding in that food, how did you? A lot of people really struggle to eat before they go for runs. How did you manage that for yourself at that when I was strong arming you into fueling your runs?
I think I still probably do battle to eat a lot before my runs, but I'm very I'm in a habit now of at least having a banana and maybe half a piece of toast with, I have Bovril, Marmite, before I run. um, yeah, and I think it just becomes a routine, a habit, and I'm quite routine orientated. So if I set the goal, make it happen, and then most importantly, making sure that I have a proper refueling after my run. A lot of protein shake, Greek yogurt with berries after I've run, and it almost gives you energy, and you don't feel like at the end of the day you've got that hole in your stomach either. So
Yes. And then you go binge eating, which is
Exactly.
what I do. I think that's it. I think you've hit the nail there, is that just something is better than nothing in the morning. If you are getting up really early in the morning, just having something just to kickstart your body and your system, to tell it to sort of wake up a little bit and to fuel those runs. And certainly when you're running and training for comrades, you know, the training's really hefty, and you need, the body needs fuel, you know, it needs to wake up and know that it's going to be fueled well. And sometimes during the week on Thursday, you know, on your longer midweek long runs, you're running for 90 minutes at a time. So you really need that fuel, and you really need to replenish.
Yeah.
So that was a really key aspect.
One of the other things that I hadn't really done in previous training was practice fueling on those long runs. I kind of went ahead and did a 1.5 hour, 2 hour training run and didn't have any nutrition on the run, which often left me during races having stomach problems and cramps and that sort of thing. So it's sort of adding those, practice what you're eating on your race day and on your race run during your training has also made quite a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I mean, fueling
Fueling.
and it's just vital for ultra running. You know, it's, you just got to eat. And I think I still keep on at you for that every time. What are you eating today? And oh, 1 egg on toast. Could we have 2 eggs on toast today then? Could we have a bit more, you know? And I think it's really hard because actually, to be fair, as females, quite early on, we're always taught maybe not to eat quite as much and not to, you know, a little bit of calorie. I know my mom was quite obsessed with calorie counting and stuff. But what we're talking here, and what's really important, is we're fueling our training. We're not really calorie counting, we're fueling training here. And that's what's just really important. And that's what I try and really drive home. And I think we've been working together for must be over a year. Is it a year and
It's over a
15?
year. Yeah.
And that's what I've really driven home, I think. So the other thing that we kind of
No,
really,
no, no,
oh,
no,
sorry,
no.
Shona, were you
No,
going to say
I was just
something
going to
there?
say, were there specifics in and around? I know you had mentioned to me around, because you obviously spoke about fueling before, during, and after now. But were there specific things you know, increasing carbs as an idea, proteins? I mean, we know that we have to increase protein as we are getting older. Did you focus on any of those kinds of specifics, Monique, in what you were taking in, or was it just a general increase in fueling in and around your training? If you want to recover from sessions faster, not feel tired all the time, run pain and injury free, and improve your endurance, then be sure to join me in my upcoming training specifically for female runners over the age of 45. In it, I'll share with you my simple 5-step framework that'll transform your running. Simply scan the QR code on screen now or click on the link in the description to save your seats in the training now. We look forward to seeing you there.
I think it was more about the right type of fueling. So a lot of protein. And I'm not a big cook and I hate being in the kitchen. So it was sort of fueling with those easy things that are going to make a difference. So instead of just having yogurt, have Greek yogurt because it's got the protein in it. And berries, because I don't know why. Why do you tell me to eat berries? But I do.
Well, that has some good carbs. I know we did concentrate, we did discuss about the sort of macronutrients and how to sort of position them in during the day, before and after your run. So what would be good before and then what would come after. And we did talk about that in the evening. I think I remember sort of adding, like wanting you to add in a little bit more carbs in the evening, because I think you quite like your protein and your salads, but I was kind of thinking we need a little bit more carbs there as well. So there was a few nuances through the day that we structured, I think, a little bit better, which I think have kind of carried on through, hopefully.
And
Yeah.
you know, just following on from that, Nicky, for everyone listening, I think it's key that it is important to fuel in and around our training. But you mentioned, as females, we've just been told a certain narrative of restriction and dieting and so on. And the first thing to go is carbs. It's always carbs. And as runners, so if
Yes.
you're a female runner over the age of 40, or even not over the age of 40, just a general female runner, you need carbohydrates. We have to have carbohydrates. Our brains fuel on carbohydrates, and if we're running, we have to have those carbs. So yeah, I think that was an amazing change that you had made, and it's obviously done well for Monique. But yeah, and
Yeah.
Nicky,
And you haven't put on any weight at all, have you?
No, no.
key. You see,
And
I
eating a
love
whole lot
hearing that.
more.
Because I remember Monique saying, she goes, "Well, if I don't fit into my clothes, I'm kind of coming for you." And I was like,
So
"Oh
you're
God."
like you're just happy to be across the continent then, and in the northern hemisphere. But I'm so glad to hear that, and it just proves the point, because I do think that majority of female runners are underfueling. They're not having enough carbohydrates because they're so scared that they're going to pick up weight. But if they fuel correctly, in actual fact, our bodies won't go into a sort of higher state of stress with increased cortisol, which then helps us, makes us hold on to that weight a little bit more anyways. So I'm so glad to hear that this has been a positive process for you from that perspective. Nikki, maybe just can we guide a little bit more towards your how you adapted some of the training aspects,
So
like some running. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So when we came back, so once we'd had a wee look at the nutrition and we came back, the first thing we did really was, do you remember, a lot of the run walk strategy, wasn't it? Which was something quite new to you. I sort of forced you into. Do you remember much about that at the start?
Yeah, I mean, when we started, I literally just had a walking training program. Obviously, I'd been on crutches for, sure, it was about on and off for 3 months. So my leg, it was a fibula stress fracture, so my leg wasn't strong at all. So we started on just walking, and then we slowly introduced running, and we did a more walking, then a running strategy, and then slowly flipped over to a run walk strategy. And I remember being quite nervous about that in the beginning, thinking, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, my times are going to be so much slower, and I'm already not a fast runner. And by the time I'd run Cape Town Marathon at the end of last year, I was super surprised that my time, having just come back from an injury and having done a walk run strategy in the race, it was actually about, I think it ended up being about 6 minutes faster than it was the previous time I had done it.
Yeah, so I think you did that thing that quite a lot of athletes do to us coaches and kind of come back from an injury and go, and I've signed up for a marathon and I'd like to do a marathon. And I don't know, was it 12 or 15 weeks later? And I was like, oh, good grief. Right. Okay. So we started you on walking with running in, and then we slowly moved you over. And I took you to one of my favorite concepts of 14-1 run walk strategy. And I forced you pretty much into running that strategy through the marathon, which you've done. You did another marathon doing that as well, didn't you? Yeah. So you did grow to quite like that strategy. And so we did a lot of, I mean, we're not talking about laid back walking here. We're talking about brisk walking with intention and targeted, and time on feet. And that just worked. We also brought in strength training around about that time as well. I'm pretty sure we had some strength training coming in, and you'll have had some rehab as well. So there was the whole package there. But that walking training meant that we could do more time on feet quicker and get you ready and prepped safely for Cape Town Marathon, which was quite honestly making me very nervous. When I, given your history and that you were going straight into it. So that for me felt the safest way to get you to the marathon, and
Yeah,
I'm pleased it did it.
I think the strength training was also quite specific. It was following exercises that I had never really focused on before, and a lot of the foot call training. And I remember thinking, geez, I'm used to gym. I've done gym in the past, but I was super stiff when I first started. And the foot call was, I was completely uncoordinated. So really sort of focusing and watching those strength training exercises that the Coach Parry portal sort of sets up. It was interesting because it was a whole bunch of exercises that I hadn't done before, targeting different groups and muscles and parts of my body that I'd never really worked on from a running fit perspective. I think made a big difference. I can now lift my toes and do all kinds of things.
Everyone's going to think that we coerced you into saying all the right things, and I can promise everyone that we didn't at all ask Monique to say these things, but that just hits home for me because Nicky and I are constantly talking about how important strength training is for female runners over the age of 40. And it's specific though. It's not just going into a gym. And I mean, lifting is good. It is good for our bones and our muscles. And especially for someone, like you, who's struggled with stress fractures, it is important. But it's about being specific to running. And I think that's quite a key aspect. So yeah. So thank you. Yeah. Thank you for that. Just to mention the importance of strength work. Nicky, you anything else on the strength training? I did also adjusted Monique's plan to really include a little bit more recovery, right? You had reduced to a number of days running, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe talk.
Yeah, I can't remember. Did we start off at 3 or 4? But we've never gone to a high number of days running. We've stuck to 4 pretty much solidly all the way through. And I think there have been times that you felt that you maybe should run more.
Yeah, more and further. And if I'm having a bit of a niggle, I would have in the past without a coach just pushed through, and just having someone like you around that literally gets onto my training plan and adjusts it, because you're really beginning to know me, has been a huge help. I mean, I have in the past religiously always followed the Coach Parry training platform, the Comrades Journey to Comrades or whatever it is. But it's just been an added benefit having a coach to sort of really monitor those moments where I might be super busy at work and my body might be a bit tired or feeling a little bit of a niggle. Then just having somebody sort of stop me in my tracks and realign the program has made a huge difference.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. You very much are, when given a program, you're going to stick to it to the T, to the letter, and nothing's going to stop you from doing that. And we have a weekly call, and I notice sometimes when I'm on that weekly call, I can see if you're tired, or I can see if you're a bit unwell and poorly. And I know you don't like it when I take down a run a notch or two. And I try not to, because I know it upsets you. But I think that's the beauty of having a coach that can really be along with you for the ride. We can really monitor you and make some of those decisions from standing back and actually what's going to benefit you the best. And certainly, sort of, as I've got to know you over the course of this year and know that, well, this is why I need to keep with the calls, because I need to know. I need to see you, because if you've got a niggle or a cold, you'll keep it hidden, whereas I need to see you. But yes, I think that's what's really important, is knowing what's right for you at that particular time and for where you are and what's going to benefit you in the long run, because the long goal is what we're always looking for with Comrades. And certainly with Cape Town, I mean, you've just had COVID and we had to take your training back a little bit for that, which is a shame when you get ill during a training cycle, but actually the main thing is to get well again as soon as possible. And that continual monitoring is quite key. Were you about to say something?
No, I was just going to add to it, Nicky. I just think that it's as runners, I do it to myself. I use Coach Parry plans, and then I bounce ideas off, whether it's Nicky and Tutu or Dev, because it's very difficult to be subjective with yourself. You're always going to want to do the fun sessions. You're always going to want to do more, because as runners, we want to be, and we are generally quite motivated. And so I think Nicky just saying that, just hitting the nail on the head with having someone adjust that for you to make those hard decisions for you, I think is quite key. So and Nicky,
Although
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, getting Monique to run a 5K time trial is quite tricky.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, that's the only time that she'll often come up with a little niggle or a little injury or something.
Yeah, look, I don't like those either, Monique. So you and me both. But so always
Very
always nice to
funny.
get off that.
Very
But
funny.
Nicky, I just wanted you to maybe focus on a little bit of Monique's recovery. Like in terms of, you said you'd brought down the number of days. You'd never really gone above 4. In terms of rest days, how many rest days a week were you looking at in terms of just getting more recovery for her?
Yeah, so we always scheduled in Friday's always a standard rest day. Had you always had a rest day before? Or
I'd never had a rest day. So I hadn't run every day. I'd always sort of done 4 days running or maybe 5, but never did a rest day, which was also quite a bit of a mind thing to get used to. Like, oh my God, I'm actually not going to exercise for one whole day a week.
and how do you feel now with a rest day?
I love my rest day. It's my
You're a convert. Brilliant. Brilliant. I think that often takes people a while to get used to, and really setting aside.
And I think the rest day before the weekend running, which is generally longer distances and that, you do just naturally feel stronger on your Saturday run.
Yeah.
I quite like, sorry,
And,
Nicky, I quite like that rest day once a week, just from a mental perspective. It's the one day where I don't have to think about planning training within my day, so it's the one day I normally sleep in a little bit. I don't have to think about when am I going to be training, how do I structure that in. So I think from just a mental load perspective, it is quite a nice aspect as well, just to have that, aside from physiological.
just have a
Yeah,
shower,
exactly.
get up in the
Be lazy in
morning,
the morning.
put on normal
Yeah,
clothes
exactly. Yeah.
and stuff. But still eating
Yes.
well
Yeah.
on a
Yeah.
Friday
Definitely.
Yeah.
is always key.
Um,
So yeah, we used the fairly standard format actually of strength twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays, and then interval sessions. We kept them quite minimal to start with, I think, really, because you've never been that keen. And whenever I try and add some intervals or strides, I
It's
often
like
hear a little bit of rumbling.
that
Do you know, but that's the interesting thing, I think, sometimes with runners is we definitely like certain things. I love intervals and strides, and Shona likes running long endurance runs, and so does Intutu, and so do you. But being forced a little bit into something different, like strides and some intervals, just works that different energy zone and just gives you something else to tap into, which I think all pays dividends in the long run. And yeah, even though you won't do a 5K time trial for me.
I'll eventually do.
eventually.
I know. Well, this is it. This is it. But I think we've missed it this cycle as well, haven't we? Because
I was sick, genuinely.
yeah, you were sick, yes. But you see the lens, COVID. So yeah, so we've fairly structured the plans: 4 runs, 2 strength sessions, 1 rest day a week. We focused on good nutrition and fueling the runs, and fueling in the runs and around the runs. That was really key. And then we've kept with the walk run strategy. What are you going to do at Cape Town this year? Do you think you'll use the walk run, or will you?
Yeah, I think I'll definitely use it. I like we tried the 13-2 walk run strategy for a while, but I prefer the 14-1, just from a headspace point of view. And yeah, I mean, I did a 2-hour run on the weekend with the 14-1 run, and my time was good. And I think with the strides, as much as I hate them, my speed, touch wood, has got a bit better. So I am hoping for a faster Cape Town Marathon.
Keeps working.
Because of it.
Yeah. I mean, the 14:1, for those who aren't familiar, is just the simple running for 14 minutes, walking for a minute, and you're not talking. Again, it's brisk walking, walking with intention, and then you repeat. So I quite often set my watch up like that, so it just beeps. So I just follow the beeps. And I've done quite a few marathons like that now, including my PB marathon as well. So I know plenty of people that have had lots of success with that. Some people take a while to get over the walking in a marathon and feel that that is a bit of a failure, but it just helps with recovery. And I think that's the key in the start of the training with the blocks and even at the weekend runs. By adding in that 1 minute walking, was it the 2 hour run you ran yesterday, or
Yes.
did you run it on Saturday?
Yesterday.
So how are you feeling today?
Yeah, good.
So I think it just helps aid that extra recovery into the week because we've got a fairly heavy weekend coming up this weekend, haven't we?
Yeah.
In your training plan. So
I think it's a mindset thing as well, because I'm kind of thinking, taking the load off my bones for a while, getting my heart rate back down. It's a whole mindset thing that's made a big difference. Yeah.
it just feels good as well to move your hips in a slightly different way. Just feels good.
Good.
Cool, good.
So, Cape Town, I'm assuming you're using that as a qualifier, or is it just as a training marathon?
I like it as a qualifier just to get it in the bag. I don't use it as my qualifier because I prefer the one later, well, early on next year. The I forget what it's
Irene.
called. 48.
Is it
Oh,
Irene?
the Irene, the ultra, or
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
the 48. So you get the 2 extra kilometers in the bag.
yes, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we used that last year. And so this will be your 9th comrades.
This will be my 9th. Yep.
9th comrades, but I think more importantly, injury free. And running happy again, I think you're finishing it, which you were struggling to do for such a long time, but yeah, injury free and running well and happy. I think that's the victory here, right?
So
I think,
nothing
yeah,
than running with injuries.
I think that was it. And also, I think what people often forget is just even towing the line, fit, well, and niggle free, which you did this year. There was no niggles.
No.
You were totally fit. You were good to go. And I think that's quite an achievement in itself. Just getting through those blocks of training is quite tough. So yeah, you were perfect athlete to train. Honestly, it was a dream, and it's lovely training you. So it's just great that you've come on and shared your story with us. It's been, lovely to train you.
Yeah.
And it'll be great to see you in Cape Town.
In real life for the first time.
Yes, as you fly past me, probably.
Yeah, that's excellent, Monique. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I mean, there were so many nuggets, golden nuggets in there. So hopefully everyone gets a ton of value from that. And well done to you for trusting the process and trusting the plan and the coach, and really reaping those rewards with Nicky. So we'll get to see what you do at Cape Town and Comrades next year. We'll keep our listeners up to date with how it goes for sure.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
no pressure.
No, good. Thank you guys for your time.
All right. Thank you. Great stuff.
All right.
Okay.
Looking
Cheers.
forward to
Bye.
the next episode. So we'll see everyone then. And up until then, happy training, fuel those runs, and take the nuggets out of this podcast from today and try and implement some of it into your own training. And we'll see you guys all again soon. Bye, team.